What's up? I'm Coach Dan Blewett. I'm a former pro pitcher, and in today's video, we're going to cover pitch tunneling. All right, so let's talk about pitch tunneling. So if you look at my diagram here, I have a breakout of 6 different pitches. So here is the fastball, cutter, slider, curveball, sinker, and changeup. And so what you'll notice here is basically they're all peeling off of the fastball's location, which is right here. So if we were to throw a fastball, it doesn't actually fly completely straight. It drops with gravity over its flight. But for, all intents and purposes, a fastball is straight, right? It goes where you hope it would go. You aim at the mitt, it ends up at the mitt if you hit your spot. So all the other pitches, because they have break, even if you were to start them in the exact same location, so you're starting this cutter here, you're starting that in the same location, like you started with the same trajectory, because it's a cutter and it has its difference in spin, it's going to break a little bit off that trajectory and end up in a different spot. And the term that we've come up with for this, and of course I didn't come up with this, is pitch tunneling. And so if you imagine all these pitches riding down the fastball's tunnel here, and then they sort of take their own exit, they break off at the last minute. And so the more you can tunnel your pitches, quote unquote, the more they'll look like a fastball coming in, and then they break off at the last minute. And so what this requires is that you throw sequences in which you'd throw a fastball in this location and then throw a cutter off of that location. So down the middle, this works pretty well. If you want to throw your first pitch fastball down the middle, wonderful. And then if you want to throw a slider the next pitch and start it off that same tunnel, aiming down the middle essentially, that slider is going to break down here off to the, lower and away quadrant if a righty's pitching. So that's a great location. Same thing with the curveball, right? You throw your fastball down the middle, you throw a curveball down the middle, flies on the same tunnel, and then it ends up at the bottom of the strike zone. Good result. Now the cutter and the sinker here, and again, understand this is just a diagram, so a sinker could sink more than this, right? A changeup could move less than this. A slider could have a different break than this. But this is just a good way to illustrate all these different pitches, because if you don't know the difference, this is glove side and this is cut. And this is arm side. And this is what we call run. So if you throw your fastball, sinkers, they will run to your arm side. Changeups will run to your arm side. Cutters, sliders, and curveballs all have cut, and they move to your glove side. So this is important to understand that, again, if we're looking at the catcher, glove side movement is cut, arm side movement is run, and every pitch is going to break off of that fastball's tunnel in its own way with its own version of break. Here's some of the good things about pitch tunneling. So if you throw more to the periphery of the strike zone, so here we're aiming a fastball low and away to a right-handed hitter or down and into a left-handed hitter, you can see that, the fastball is going to track where it's going to track, and then, the cutter is going to go off to the corner of the plate. The slider is going to break off of the plate, so that's going to be that swing and miss, like an 0-2 slider. The curveball is now going to break well below the strike zone. Again, that like 0-2 curveball. However, we can get into some trouble where the changeup, sure, it's down the zone, which is wonderful, but it's kind of in the middle of the plate, and the sinker is also in that same boat. So when we talk about pitch tunneling is not the end-all be-all, because it starts to have some issues when, if you're always trying to throw the next tunneled pitch based on your previous location, well, sometimes pitches don't fit that very well, or if you miss your spot, which we'll show in the next slide, that it's not going to really make sense, and you're not going to want to tunnel a pitch off of a certain location. So here's a great example. This was the first slide I showed. If you're a fastball curveball guy, so the curveball is going to drop right down the middle of the plate if we threw a high fastball, right? Now your curveball might have more break, so maybe it can get down here. But in general, curveball is going to have only maybe a foot of drop. It's not really, it's going to maybe look like that look like it would have more drop when you're younger. But in general, a curveball doesn't have 3 feet of drop. That's not how they work. So if your fastball's up here and you tunnel it, quote unquote, that curveball is going to end up in the middle of the plate, and that's probably not a good result for you. Even worse results are throwing a slider that's tunneled off a high fastball. This is up and away. It's not only going to be breaking into the top of the strike zone and easy to lift into the outfield, but also when you start to throw breaking pitches high in the zone in general, they don't have as much sharpness. So you want to stay out of this area as much as you can, because you start to get behind your slider. You start to get behind that curveball a little more, and you don't get as much bite on it. So as you go further down in the strike zone, when everything's down here, that's when stuff bites a lot sharper. When you start to throw off-speed stuff up here, it doesn't bite nearly as much. So you're not going to get the same quality of break up as you would down. And then if we look at the arm side pitches here, so we've got the changeup, very bad location for a changeup, also a very bad location for a sinker. So the sinker and changeup are also going to flatten out quite as much. So you're going to get more sink when you're down here, and you're going to get more sink out of your changeup and arm side run when you're down there as well. So understand that there are major limitations for pitch tunneling. It is not an end-all be-all theory. So if you throw this high fastball, wonderful. That doesn't mean you're necessarily going to want to tunnel the next pitch off it. Maybe you can if your curveball has big enough break, but if it doesn't, you still might want to start your next curveball here. You know, this is your starting location for the next pitch, so that it tunnels to here to get that strikeout curveball where they can't possibly hit it. So pitch tunneling is one aspect of your overall pitch calling strategy, and there's times that it'll work and there's times that it won't, and it's going to vary depending on your repertoire as a pitcher. So hopefully today's video helped, that it's something new that you can fold in to your pitch calling strategy. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, check out my books and courses below, and I'll see you in the next one.